Hello and welcome to Footy with Fletch. This is episode 4 with the great Brad Johnson. So let's go through Brad Johnson's highlights in his playing career. Played between 1994 and 2010, kicking 558 goals from 364 games. He was the Charles Sutton Medal winner at the Western Bulldogs in 1999, 2002 and 2006. He was the Western Bulldogs leading goal kicker in 2001, 2005, 2006, 2007 and 2008. He made the All-Australian team in 1999, 2000, 2002, 2005, 2006, where he was the captain, and in 2007. He was the Western Bulldogs captain from 2007 to 2010, and he also made the Western Bulldogs team of the century. This is going to be a fantastic episode, so sit back, relax, and enjoy. Hello, Brad.
Hey, Fletch, how are you, buddy?
Good, thanks. How are you?
Going well, thank you.
That's good to hear, Brad. So given the nickname the Smiling Assassin, as you were referred to as by commentators, what was that nickname all about?
Oh, look, Fletch, I think it was given to me by a great commentator known as Rex Hunt, who I'm sure you're well aware of, and he brought that name out there after one game, I think, where I may have played pretty well and was smiling the whole time through the game. So that was one aspect of it, I suppose, Fletch. And I love footy, mate, and I love being around it and the footy club, and was very obviously happy to be in that environment and living in that world.
Rex Hunt is a very good commentator, and you always have a very bright smile on your face. Now, who would have been the best teammate that you got to play with?
Oh, it's hard to pick. It is hard to pick one. Rowan Smith is my best mate, and he and I had a great relationship as teammates. But I played with some fantastic players. Scott West, with what he achieved throughout his career, Chris Grant. Those guys really took me under their wing when I was young and helped me become the player that I was, and they helped fast track me in the system. So it was really important that for me as a player to have those guys, take the time to help develop me as a player in what is a pretty tough competition.
I can only imagine how tough a competition it is to play in. Do you find that the football industry was a hard caper to work in?
Look, I didn't really see it as work because I loved it so much, Fletch. But yes, it is. It's very demanding. It takes a lot of your time, a lot of your personal time as well. And very lucky that I had a really understanding, wife and family that allowed me to follow that dream to play footy. So yeah, it can take a lot of time. And as you develop in the game and you really start to, have a place within a footy club and within a competition, the demands become more and more. So, it is challenging, but, it's something that I just absolutely love doing. I love working hard.
Yeah, it's a very demanding industry. Who would have been the best opposition player that you played against, Brad?
Oh, they're all good, Fletch. They're all playing for a reason, but there's some guys that are just top shelf. And Andrew McLeod's probably the hardest one that I ever played against. He was a phenomenal player. Nathan Buckley was just super powerful in the way that he played the game. Shane Crawford, his running ability was nearly unstoppable. So some players there that were, they were hard to play against. But when you sit back now, you just admire how good they really were as players.
Yeah, they are definitely some of the greats of the game. Would have there ever been a bad spray that you copped from your coach, Rodney Eade?
Oh, Fletch, we always get in a little bit of strife every now and then. I was lucky. Rodney Eade was fantastic for me as a player, as a captain of the footy club. We had a great relationship, and look, we never got to that point where I ever really copped the spray. Rocket was what you see in the coach's box. We never got that as players. He was very, very tactical, pretty much composed most of the time in the way that he saw the game and delivered that to us as players, because we had to go and execute then. So if we ever stepped outside of the realms of what he was trying to achieve as a coach, then you might get brought back into line pretty quickly. But other than that, he was a brilliant coach.
Yeah, that is really important that he kept you and the playing group in line. So in 2007, you polled 19 votes in the Brownlow. However, Adam Goodes won the Brownlow that year. In all honesty, do you think that you were robbed that year of the Brownlow?
Do you think I was wrong, Fletch?
Yeah, I do, and so do some of my listeners as well.
Look, Fletch, I can't say I was robbed. How good is Adam Goodes as a player? I had a pretty good teammate in Scotty West who was getting a lot of votes in that period of time as well. But look, 2006 was a huge year for myself. It was probably my best year of footy. I was able to kick roughly around 70 goals for the year, which was the most ever kicked in a season. And then 2007 was a flow on of that. I was feeling really good about myself and my football in that period of time, and I think that sort of showed out in the way that I was able to play the game, and attracted a few votes, but it wasn't something that was high on my agenda throughout my career, Fletch.
Yeah, well, Adam Goodes was a very good player, but I still think you were robbed that year. Which of your former teammates left you with one of the most memorable stories from your playing days?
Oh, there's so many, Fletch. Look, you got to go back to, even when Chris Grant decided to stay at the footy club when he was being, Port Adelaide were trying to recruit him, and the famous letter of a young fella that sent in 20 cents to him, and little things like that really hit home. Look, there's amount of funny stories that happen in the change rooms, and we had a bit of a laugh, and it was the one period of time when you're in the change rooms that you could be yourself, I suppose. But outside of that, it was a great club to be around, and all the players that entered the Bulldogs, they understood the history of where we'd come from and how much we had to fight to save the club at certain stages, and respect the environment that we were walking into. So that was the most important thing for us as players. So I was, right across the board there were so many stories throughout 17 years, Fletch, that really did allow us to stay grounded in a competition that can take you away.
Yeah, are you still spending time around the Bulldogs?
Oh, not as much these days, Fletch, with my footy commitments with Fox Footy, and I live in Geelong, so I had spent the last few years just working just one day a week with a couple of their forwards, and this year I worked a little bit with the female program, so that was great. The AFLW girls were unbelievable to work with, such good fun. So I enjoyed that little bit of a shift as well. So yeah, only go back and catch up with a few mates. We always catch up once or twice a year with a function as well, and we have a bit of fun. But my kids and I absolutely love the Dogs, and we watch them every week. Watch them live when we can. If not, we watch them on the tally and cheer them on.
Yeah, they're a very good football club. What was it like when Gary Warcroft took one of what many people refer as one of the greatest marks of all time on your shoulders?
Oh, very good, Fletch. Look, it's something that, I didn't see at the time, Fletch, because I was underneath him. So I remember getting up and the whole crowd at Marvel Stadium were on their feet, giving him a round of applause. So I knew something serious had just occurred, and it was a phenomenal grab. It really was. It was absolutely huge. I remember my teammate Ben Harrison actually cheering the mark in play. So that's how big it was. So one of those things, Fletch, that when you're in the game for a long time, you might have some highlights, and you might have some times in the game where someone does something special on you, and Gary Warcroft certainly did that.
Yeah, he's a fantastic player. Was there a particular player in your career that you feared playing against?
Oh, I didn't fear anyone, Fletch. No, that's something that you're always sort of confident in your own own ability, but you're only confident if you do the work in the background to prepare for your opposition. So you've got to do a lot of work in video work and understand the player and where their strengths are, where their weaknesses are, more importantly, so you can actually exploit them as an opposition player. So that was really important for me. I knew each week that I'd go into a game that I had done the research and could handle any type of opponent that would come at me. And I made sure I trained on my best teammates as well, Dar Morris, Brian Lake, throughout their careers as well, because those guys were pretty good at their craft and unstoppable. And I knew that if I trained well on those guys, that I'd be able to handle any type of opposition that I played against on the weekend.
So you're doing your research is a very important part of being an AFL player and as a commentator as well. So what is a week-to-week like as an AFL special comments commentator at Fox Footy?
Oh, Fletch, you've experienced match day with us, which was good fun, and you can see how we're such a good group and we work well together. We do rely on each other a lot at Fox Footy, because there's so many games that everyone has to be across. That if I haven't watched a certain team or been live at a certain team for a couple of weeks, then we can call on each other to get some information about what others have seen. We certainly use we use all the stuff online, and we research everything. I make sure I listen to all the coaches every week with their press conferences, basically post game, and then leading into the next match. You're following what the players are saying, but when you have to interview them or the coaches on match day, we're looking at all the stats leading into the game. So you're spending a fair bit of time each week working out, what to sort of work on and what to bring up come match day. And it varies. As I said, we may have some weekends you might have 3 games, some weekends you might have 1. So it varies each week in the amount that you have to sort of put into it. But overall, you've just got to have a nice little structure that can allow you to, once again, prepare well, so that you can call the game effectively. And when the game goes a little bit quiet or a team gets a big lead, you've got some stuff there that's important that people might want to understand.
Research is very important with commentary, and it was great fun to call that quarter with Fox Footy. Now, do you have any embarrassing end-of-year footy trip stories, Brad?
Plenty of those, Fletch. But no, we loved our time together. We made sure that most of the playing group went on our trips every year, and we just enjoyed that opportunity to get away as a group for a small period of time. To be honest with you, Fletch, because you work so hard throughout the year and you're really disciplined in your approach to life and the game, and to step away for a couple of days and just relax and have a swim and a couple of drinks together is always a little bit of fun. So we enjoyed it. We had a bit of fun with our trips, but also remained. It's always in the back of your mind though when you're going away together to respect the place you're going to, but more importantly that you got to come back and start getting into a bit of training and bits and pieces. So there's always those aspects of it, but they're always fun, that's for sure.
Yeah, footy trips are fun. There are always some funny stories out of them, that's for sure. So a cart carrying drinks ran into the back of you at training that aggravated a pre-existing Achilles injury. What was it like to get hit by a golf cart at training?
Oh, it wasn't great, Fletch. It was a complete accident, of course. And I actually still wonder who brought golf carts onto a footy field. But anyway, that's the way it happened. I was just mucking around, having some shots at goals, and unfortunately got clipped by the golf cart. It had a little box underneath it and it hit my Achilles. It didn't hit me that hard, but it was hard enough to make the Achilles swell up again. So I missed about a month of footy, I think, on the back of it. And look, really chased my tail for the rest of that year. But that's okay. I was 34 years of age, Fletch, and I was pretty much knew in my mind it was my last year of footy anyway. It would have been good to finish on a real high, but unfortunately we got knocked out in the prelim final again that year to St Kilda. So it was a good year. It was a little bit frustrating, but that's the way it is. I got through my whole career, Fletch, with hardly any injuries, so I was one of the lucky ones.
Yeah, you definitely were lucky, having a very sort of not many injuries in your career. What have you been doing while the 2020 AFL season has been postponed due to COVID-19?
Oh, look, Fletch, it's been good just being able to hang at home with the family when normally we're out and about and travelling and doing all those things with Fox Footy. So it's been good to just have that little bit of a mix up in terms of that. We've been working on a business my wife and I have got called Xena, so that's been a lot of fun. And during this time as well, Fletch, my daughter released her first ever single, so that was pretty cool to have that go out into the world. So we've had a lot that's been able to sort of entertain us during this period, and it's good now that the country is getting relatively safe, that we can start to step out again and we're seeing live sport again. So I think the country's done a great job to get us back to this point as a whole, so that we can now start to get some live sport back and get back out in the community a little bit.
Yeah, it's going to be great to have live sport back. Where does your daughter Ella get her musical talents from, Brad? Is it from you?
No, definitely not, Fletch. Definitely not me. My wife is not too bad, but Ella has worked extremely hard over the last few years on her voice and on the confidence of stepping out and singing in public and all those sort of things that go with it. So it's all on her. She's done a great job. She's worked hard. She spends hours a day on her voice and working on her craft. So she loves it, and it's been a huge step to jump out into the world, as I said, and put a song out there, and it's been received quite well, and she's just enjoying that moment presently. So it's a start point for her, and she's really excited now to try and step forward in that industry.
Yeah, she's got some fantastic talent. Can you tell us a little bit about your business, Zena Sport?
So Xena is a company that my wife has started, and it's basically a protective garment for females playing contact sport. So it's got breast and rib protection, and it allows basically when you get hit, it absorbs the contact in those areas. So if you're playing footy or basketball or any other type of contact sport, this garment can certainly help you just absorb the contact in it. And we had a number of AFLW girls wear it during the last season, about 20 to 25 of them, and they loved it. They recovered well and they felt more confident. So, that's been great. And the garment is really now, with sport starting up again, we'll start trying to promote it heavily once again. But it's been a good challenge starting a new business, and it's taken us a while to get to this point. We're really excited about what we've been able to achieve so far. And it's a great garment that the girls love wearing. So hopefully in the future, we'll see a lot more, girls and females, as my wife says, conquering the field and wearing our garment to do that, to play with confidence.
Yeah, congratulations with your business so far. What would have been the worst injury that you suffered in your career?
Oh, look, probably in the end, the Achilles was more annoying than anything else because it just lingered for so long. But probably my bicep tendon was the most painful injury that I had sustained. So I had a partial tear in my tendon. So I was able to play the year out, but it was quite painful to do that. And then the operation that I had to have at the end of that year was pretty straightforward, but the recovery was long and quite painful. So that was probably the biggest injury I had, but it was over the pre-season. So I was able to recover well and get going by the start of the season without any pain. So it just took time. It was very slow, but that was probably the most frustrating thing about that.
Yeah, you were very lucky with your injuries. That sounds like a very bad injury, though. What time slot do you think the 2020 AFL Grand Final should be played in?
2:30 traditional for me, Fletch. I think it's a great time to play the game, and I can understand the discussions around twilight or night, but if those discussions are based around in terms of the entertainment side of things, then for me, that's not the right way to go about it. The entertainment is the actual grand final, the game. The other bits and pieces that go with it are just a huge bonus that we can have in our game because of the size of it. But look, for me, it's still the traditional Saturday afternoon grand final, and I think that is something that hopefully will stay in the future. It might change this year, I get that, but hopefully past this, we go back to that traditional time slot.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. I think the 2:30 p.m. grand final is a very good time slot, and I think it should stay that way. So, talking about grand finals, how was it when the Western Bulldogs won the 2016 flag, Jono?
Oh, it was huge, Fletch. It was massive. I've been a doggy supporter my whole life, so I've been waiting 35 odd years myself to see the Dogs win one. So in that sense, it was huge to be there on that day. That final series actually as a whole was phenomenal. Starting with the West Coast Eagles in Perth, then beating Hawthorn. We know what they'd achieved in that period of time. The GWS prelim was just electric, the atmosphere that was there and the emotion that followed that. And the emotion spilled over and continued on that week. I thought the Dogs handled it really well, and they just embraced that whole month and just flowed with it and really enjoyed. It looked like they were enjoying their footy. And how good was it at the end to see them break that drought of so long that it was just huge, absolutely huge. And it was great for the footy club as a whole because we win the flag and it helped out financially so much and put the club in a really strong position now moving forward. So it was huge on all fronts, and we were absolutely pumped to be there and help celebrate with the guys.
Yeah, it was a fantastic grand final to watch the Doggies win. Who do you think will win the 2020 premiership, Jono?
I think GWS, Fletch. I think they'll respond after last year. I know Leon Cameron quite well, and I know the way that he likes to sort of not rest on the fact that they did well last year in making the grand final and the disappointment of the way they played. So they'll respond, and I think they've got such a strong list and a really consistent list across each line where they've got stars in each line. So look out for GWS this year.
Yeah, I think they will be surprising. However, I still think Richmond will win the flag. Who would have been the biggest person that influenced your AFL career?
Oh, there's a few along the way, but my teammates are the ones I mentioned earlier in Rowan Smith and Chris Grant and Scotty West were probably the main three that had a huge say on myself as a footballer, which was huge. Terry Wallace and Rodney Eade as a couple of coaches that had a huge impact on me as a player. And they're probably, and when you think about it, your teammates, do a lot for you, but the coaches, putting you in the right positions that suit you as a player and allow you to grow and mold into those positions is really important. And so, those Terry taught me when I was younger, the work ethic and changed me from a midfielder into a forward in the competition, which I had to really embrace. So, things like that were really important for me. And Rodney Eade was just a phenomenal coach as well at the end of my career. When you think you're at a certain level, Rodney Eade was able to take us all to a whole new level we didn't know exists. So those two coaches had a big say.
Yeah, they are very fantastic people within the football industry. What would have been the hardest moment in your AFL career?
Oh, the hardest moment, I suppose, Fletch, is retiring and finishing up, because you're involved in a club that you love for so long, and you basically you work through a number of years and the highs and lows that go with the game. But at the end, making that call at the end and I was lucky to make the call myself, and I know not everyone gets that opportunity to do that. So I was lucky in that sense, but it was still a tough time to finally sort of say to yourself, you got to pull the pin. But you sort of, in the end, I knew it was the right thing to do and where I was at as a player, and it was time to sort of go off into retirement and enjoy a few other things in life. So, but that was certainly a tough decision to make.
Yeah, it would have been very difficult also with your Achilles injury that you also suffered. What would have been the best AFL match that you have commentated?
Oh, best one I've commentated. One I always go back to, Fletch, is when Buddy Franklin kicked 13 goals for Hawthorn, and they're playing in Tasmania, and I was sitting next to Anthony Hudson for that entire game, and watching Hutto just build it up was phenomenal. And we all know now that the famous 13 is that Hutto commentated that night. It just rings true right across the competition. So whenever the number comes up now, you sort of try and copy the way Hutto said it when Buddy kicked his 13th. So that was probably one of the best experiences I've had and it was early days too. I just sort of stepped out of the game. So it was great to be a part of that. And it's something that stayed with me for forever.
Yeah, that was a very memorable moment for Buddy Franklin. Talking about Buddy, do you think we'll see him recover from this hamstring injury that he suffered?
I hope so, Fletch. I really do. And I think he will. He's still, I still think he's got time on his side. So then the Swans will be patient with him, I think, this time, and they'll make sure that he recovers well. So we're not sure how much footy he might get this year, but if he gets back, he's just got to be healthy. And if he's healthy, he plays for as long as Buddy wants to play. I think we all want to see him in the competition as long as we possibly can because he's been an absolute superstar, and I think he'll continue to be a superstar.
Yeah, he's one of the greats of the game. What would have been the biggest life lesson that you have learnt while working in the AFL industry?
Oh, the biggest lesson would be around, I think preparation and work ethic are the two most important things that come into it. And they're things that don't take talent. So we're always sort of instructed along the way. And that's where Rodney Eade was so good, that you build a really strong base to the way you want to play or the way you want to be as a person. And I think if you can live that base, then, that's the most important thing. And in footy terms, a lot of those things were preparation and work ethic and those sort of things that weren't the talent of kicking, marking, handballing and all those sort of things. It was really about your mental approach to that, which then allowed you to do all the other things really well, and you really wanted to be motivated to do them. So they're probably the two biggest things.
Yeah, that is very important. That's what I've heard from a lot of people that I have interviewed so far. What was it like being the captain of the Western Bulldogs Football Club, and what did the position entail?
It was a great honour to be captain of the club, and through a period of time where we were going really well and we're playing a lot of great games and prelim finals we made in those years. It was great to be a part of it in that sense. We had an unbelievable team. I had unbelievable teammates too during that period of time. That guys like Daniel Cross and Matty Boyd and Dale Morris, running around, Sean Higgins, Daniel John Syracuse, Rob Murphy. Like, I could go on and on about guys that were just superstar guys, but players as well. And, they just had the team's best interests at heart. So it was fantastic to captain the side, but I had some great guys around me that were able to help and assist and made sure that we were sort of humming along pretty well as a team.
Yeah, you had a very good team to lead in your time as captain. Who do you think are the top 5 best players in the AFL of all time?
Of all time, Fletch. Oh, wow. This is very good. So I think Wayne Carey would be up there all time, and Lee Matthews. Lee Matthews I watched as a youngster growing up. Wayne Carey watched and played a fair bit with. I think Gary Ablett Jr. is an absolute sensation when we look at that. So I've given you 3 so far, Fletch. Help me out with a couple more, mate, as we're going along. Who do you think's the best ever?
I think you can't go past, you've also got, Matthew Lloyd, you've got Malcolm Blythe. There's so many players that you can name. The list can go on and on.
It is. It's very difficult to do. And you look at, and there'll be some players that, I didn't see play, and you miss out on those, and that were absolute legends and guns of the competition. So, when you look across, today you look at, what Dusty Martin has done in his throughout his career, and Buddy Franklin we've already mentioned. You've got Tony Lockett, Jason Dunstall, Gary Ablett Sr. So in terms of the gun forwards of all time, Greg Williams, Chris Judd, Michael Voss, like we could go on and on about these guys that are just been great for the game, and that's why we all sit back now and admire what they did achieve when they played or what they are achieving now as current players.
Yeah, that is very good. So thank you very much, Brad, for being a guest on the Footy with Fletch podcast. It's been great to interview you today.
Thank you, Fletch. All the best, mate, and hope keep following your dreams, buddy.
Thank you. Goodbye.
See ya.
There we have it, episode 4 of the Footy with Fletch podcast. Thank you all for listening. It was fantastic to have Brad Johnson as my guest. Thank you very much, Brad, for your time. You were a fantastic guest. Thanks again for listening, guys, and stay tuned for episode 5 of the Footy with Fletch podcast. Bye for now.